All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nicole. Appreciate you coming on. This is Ha with Happy Strong You. Every now and then during the crazy time, COVID times, I've been doing these live chats just to kind of socialize with people and try to get a little bit of a norm with a little bit of routine, and then also a good start of the day. I appreciate actually you coming on, because when I asked you, it's like, sure, I would love to. So I appreciate you coming on, because I know some people are kind of hesitant, which is I try to make it as just casual, nonchalant as possible. That way people don't feel like they're pressured while they're on. So right. We're just kind of two people having friendly chat, and that's all we're doing on that. So if you're watching, just comment, let me know how you all are doing. We have Nicole. I don't know much about you other than we connected. Almost everyone that I bring on that I don't know much about, I just like, I need to know more about that person. And one of the things I like to do is, if we can't travel, I can at least travel in other people's brains, mindset, and perspective. So that's one way to explore and discover and learn from off of each other. So tell me about where you're at, where you train, belt level. That way people kind of get to know you a little bit more, and then they can start to ask any questions once they get to know you a little bit more. Go ahead.
I'm in New Jersey. I train out of Tiger Schulman's. I work for Tiger Schulman's, which is Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing. More so MMA, let's say that. Let's call it that. I also cross train. I do a little bit out of Hoboken Jiu-Jitsu, which is more gi, because I also love the gi. So Tiger Schulman's doesn't do that. I've been training for about 4 years now, but not consistent, just jiu-jitsu. It's also been kickboxing. Going to blue belt, because I haven't been officially ranked, because again, jiu-jitsu, you have to be at an official jiu-jitsu school to be ranked in jiu-jitsu, but I compete as a blue belt.
Gotcha. Your journey is different though. I mean, I think everyone has different ways to go about doing jiu-jitsu, because you say you have to be at an official school to, start their rank up and so forth. But what is your mindset and your take about how you're taking about your jiu-jitsu journey?
I want to compete. That's my mindset. I always say I'm 43. I kind of started training 4 years ago at 43 is a little, it's a little difficult, especially where my weight category is. I end up getting stuck with 20-year-olds on a consistent basis. So that's my goal. I literally before we all shut down, my life is training and working. I wake up. So my mindset, like I also want to do an amateur kickboxing fight. That's one of my goals. I don't know if I'll reach it, because now we've been hung up and, with all these lockdowns, but my goal is, and then to teach. I love teaching women. I love teaching kids. I really enjoy teaching women, because they're so hesitant to get into jiu-jitsu, especially kickboxing. Sorry, I don't know what you can see here. Kickboxing, people will jump right into as a woman, but jiu-jitsu, it's like, ooh, I don't want to get sweaty. Don't touch me. You mean somebody's on top of me? But so that's like where my headspace is.
Yeah. How are I don't know if you're able to find that meshing the two. How are you able to from taking ladies from kickboxing to jiu-jitsu? How are you able to tell people, or I don't know what your verbiage is, and it's like, hey, you need to try jiu-jitsu, and I know you said they're hesitant. So what's your take or your approach whenever you're approaching ladies about it?
A lot of time, with Tiger Schulman's in particular, we have a lot of the females come in from their children. Their children will start, their children will see it. So it all depends. Every woman is different. The more I talk, I really try to understand who I'm speaking to and see what they need. I mean, sometimes a woman, you find out that they might have had an experience where they were attacked. Like me personally, I have a history of physical abuse from a male. So it's my perspective. I go in and I explain, listen, I was extremely hesitant. To have a male on top of me holding me down from a personal experience. Now it took a little bit to get used to, but you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's how I try to explain it to them. Because God forbid if you were attacked, I address it from a self-defense standpoint.
Gotcha. So, if you don't mind, tell us a bit about your encounter as far as your physical abuse that you had.
I was married for several years, and my ex-husband was abusive. Great father. I will not discount the fact he is a tremendous father. Me and him had issues. So I had, it's, now we can talk. Now we're able to deal with it. But at the time I was abused in all the ways you could think of. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, it took a little.
Did you find help to help you get out of that situation? Because I know a lot of spouses can have a hard time just trying to get out of.
I was lucky enough. I was living and I now I'm more in northern Jersey, over by like the Meadowlands, but at the time I was up in the woods, I call it. My neighbor was actually a divorce attorney, and we would go on daily hikes. And the one day she saw I was a mess, and she's like, "That's it." She grabbed me, and she like brought me to the police station, and that was it. That started the progression where it ended. But
gotcha.
I'm forever grateful for her, because she saw me it was one day, it was a hike. We would go every morning with our dogs, and yeah, it was a community. Little tiny thing, little tiny blonde that she was like, "No, you're not doing this. You're not dealing with this. We're going to the like."
Well, definitely happy to hear that someone was able to be there to help intervene, help you out of that situation. So how many kids do you have?
I have two.
Okay.
19 and 25.
What? Wow.
They are giant.
You had them when you were young.
Yes. I was going into my senior year of high school when I found out I was pregnant. I graduated. I got my college degree. Everything stayed on track. But
how was that experience when you when you had them that young? I know that's just a struggle as a senior.
Yes. I was lucky towards the end of my pregnancy, and when my son was first born, I was homeschooled. Like, I was able to stay at home, and the teachers came to my house a couple times a week and worked with me. I moved out. I was living as soon as my parents found it. I grew up in a house where my family's very into politics. So, and they're very tough. I'm the oldest. They found out I was pregnant. It's okay. You're out. You want to be a grown up? Time to be a grown up. So I moved. I was out on my own. My ex-husband, he was my boyfriend at the time. He moved in with me. We ended up getting married. But it was interesting. I missed out on a lot of no high school parties, no, college parties. I went to, I was a grown up.
Yeah. Well, what were some of the things that you've learned during those hard times of just having at an early age, having kids, and then you really had to grow up you had no choice but to grow up during those times.
I think the biggest thing I learned, it's life. Life is how everything comes at you for different reasons. And I was on a path. I danced for many years. That was my career path. Is I was actually going to be a dancer. I wanted to do modern dance, theatrical dance, and I blew out my knee. And then I realized it was partying. there was there was boys and drinking. So I think if I did not get pregnant, if I did not have that happen, I was headed down a very bad path. And I was a troublemaker.
Yeah.
So I think by getting pregnant, and it's funny because I'm pro-choice, and I'm a very stubborn person, also very stubborn. And when I went to the clinic, they were trying to convince me to have an abortion. And because they were so, you should do this, you're not ready to have a child, I was like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
So it's funny how people like direct you in different ways. Like you don't realize, like one step in the other direction, if the clinic wasn't so forceful with me, I might have made another decision. And I look back now, I have two wonderful boys. They're unique and they're great kids. So
that's awesome. That's definitely a beautiful story with, I call it kind of having a hot mess becoming your message
yes.
to other people. So that's awesome. Amazing story. Now, does your kids, do they also do martial arts? Your boys?
My 25-year-old, my older son, Darren, he does kickboxing.
Okay.
So he did a tournament. We have over at Tiger Schulman's, they have an in-house tournament. So there's something like 40, I don't know at this point, there might be 48 schools, maybe more. We all come together and compete against each other. So he did a tournament. I was very proud. He was like right away. He's like, yeah, I want to fight. I'm like, yes.
That's awesome. So do you guys train with each other, spar with each other? How's that dynamic?
I'm 5'1", maybe 5'2", 114 pounds. He is about 6 feet, 6'1", 230. So I jump on his back a lot, but that's he refuses to do jiu-jitsu. He says he's not wearing tights. That he quotes the Breakfast Club all the time. He's like, I'm not wearing tights. I'm like, you don't have to wear
Wow. He's still young, so he might eventually branch over, change his mind a little bit.
He was going to try it, and then all of the COVID, all this stuff happened. So now I have to get him back on the bandwagon.
It's all good. Hopefully, during these times, you're able to kind of mess with him a little bit, do a little bit of grappling here and there.
Yeah. So when he stopped by that's what I do. I like to jump on his back. The one time, my younger son, I went to do, I wrapped around his leg and I took him down. It was like sort of like a Della Riva or a single leg X. I get all the names confused. And I swept him and he fell over. He's like, how'd you do that? I'm so big. I'm like, jiu-jitsu, the power of jiu-jitsu.
That's how you start winning big guys over. When a little person can start doing these crazy sweeping, just sweeping them over and stuff and make it look easy. They're like, okay, teach me what you know on there. So talk about your competitions. When did you start competing? Because I think you did kickboxing before, competing kickboxing before you started grappling.
Actually, no. I did do jiu-jitsu my first tournament I ever did was one of our Tiger Schulman's, we call it Challenge of Champions, the COC that all the schools do together. So that was my first competition, and that was Jimmy Rivera, the UFC fighter, because all the schools are refs. He was my ref. I'll never forget it. I still say to this day, I was like, you were my first ref at my tournament. But that was my first one. And we start at position only. Like we start from guard, or like we flip a coin. So it was an experience. And then I loved it. So ever since then, I do all COCs. I was starting to up my competition. I've done Nagas. I started to get into grappling industries. I don't know. Grappling industries is out there now. I was supposed to do a tap cancer out up in Connecticut, but they postponed it. Now we're looking at August, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, hopefully all this, I mean, it seems like a lot of the events are kind of migrating towards the fall, towards the end of the year, if not at least by next year. Trying to see how things, we'll see what else the world throws at us for 2020. I think
it's
this is it's the real life Jumanji Jiu-Jitsu is what I call it. Yeah. I'm like, let's play Jumanji Jiu-Jitsu. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yep.
How can we Jiu-Jitsu ourselves out of this position? Yep. We call it bad positions. We need to work ourselves out of on that. Yep. So talk about how do you, and I don't know how your mindset is when you started to compete. How has your mindset started to where it's at before COVID? How has it evolved since then, since the beginning?
Well, from the first tournament I did, I remember the first tournament I did, I went in with no expectations. I just went in like, okay, challenge myself, see if I can do it. It's the noise, everything involved. I'm like, let's see what happens. And I did well. I think I took first that tournament. I think it was first or second. So.
And were you like 40 around that time?
I'm 40. I was 38, I believe. 38. Okay. I've been doing it for 4 years.
Yeah.
So by the time the tournament happened, I think I was 38.
Okay.
I think.
And then were you going up against people in your weight and age division, or did you have to go younger, higher?
COCs, I actually had somebody for my first tournament. They were my age, but they were above my weight. I think they were 130, 135, but they were my age.
Okay.
Since then, my weight's dropped. Well, as the more I train, I can't get above that 114. So it's my mindset changed. Like before, the last tournament I did was a grappling industries. So I tried to, over the last year, I was trying to do like a tournament every month. Mm-hmm. It was getting kind of tough because some of them aren't close and I work 6 days a week. So before the last grappling industries I did, I actually had a torn LCL, slight meniscus tear, and I had tendonitis in my elbow. And I went in and I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I just, see what happens. Those matches, I lost every single match. I don't know gi rules very well. So I accidentally heel hooked in the gi, which I got. And it was one of Tom DeBlass's students. I was like, oh my God, I am such a jerk. Like I felt like Tom DeBlass posted it on his Instagram. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I'm the girl who did it. I don't do gi. I didn't know.
One way to take notice, become famous.
I was like, but yeah, that tournament, it was my mindset going there was, I was just like, you know what happens. I'm not going in with too many expectations, and that's how I started to go into tournaments now. Like, sorry, my dog. I really try to train and try to get into my game and go in relaxed. And, I've always, I hope to do like a rise or something, like some type of invitational. I want to do an on-stage thing. So I'm trying to focus more on submissions than on points. So it kind of changed my mindset going into the tournament. Like, I'm like, if I lose, I lose, I really want the submissions.
Yeah.
So
yeah, everyone's, like I said, everyone's journey is different and how they go about approaching, how they utilize competition. because everyone's going to be different in how their purpose and within their competition. But that's pretty cool
Mm-hmm.
as far as, you really want to use it just to work more on your submission based grappling, that type of journey. So everyone's journey is being different. Because I think that's kind of, I could be wrong, but that's where I believe Jiu-Jitsu is, that trend is heading towards. Nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
there's that shift ever since the no-gi scene and the leg lockers start to come out, then it's starting to be more submission grappling based. There's a lot more of that. And then because of that, it's starting to be a lot more fan base friendly, I would say, to watch, because I'm not nothing to go and dog the gi, because it works on both ways. It depends on who's grappling and so forth, because I think if you watch the live stream last time, Kevin Williams, he made both jiu-jitsu in gi and no gi like really like exciting to watch. And so those type of grappling, you want to gravitate to watch, even people who don't know grappling very well. And so people they'd rather pay to watch someone like him to grapple, versus somebody that's just kind of like, not doing that much, I would say.
Right.
So, or stalling.
and you know what? It's watching, like I've noticed myself in the transition when I first started watching Jiu-Jitsu or even MMA. When I first started watching MMA, I didn't understand. It was boring when they were on the ground to me before I did what I do. And then as I'm learning it, you're like, wow, wait a minute. No, don't get, you got to get like, so I think it's more exciting for like you said, for the fan base. It's that submission. People like to see people getting choked and broken, sadly.
Obviously, because the UFC is doing it.
Right.
No, it's transition, because you'll see a lot more submission grappling out there. You see a lot more because of it. There's a lot more prize money, and people are starting to make money off of it. And then also we're talking about the EBI is trying to start a transition, mesh the combat and grappling at the same time with the combat submission on EBI. So, but it's starting to definitely shifting. It's been shifting for at least a couple of years from what I've seen on there. But yeah, that's pretty cool. On as far as somebody, how would you describe your jiu-jitsu?
I'm a bottom player. I love being on bottom. I'm a very bendy person, so it's funny. I'm horrible with names. People will be like, Nicole, you just did a whatever, and I'm like, huh? I just moved my legs and flipped upside down and held on to something. So
you feel like a dancer at the bottom, so talk about that, because there was someone who has in our gym that has a dancing background in modern dancing and a little bit other stuff like that. But the way he was moving, and even his significant other, it's just amazing how moving they're like. The way you guys process information is just amazing. So talk about how I don't know if I'm getting to making sense of what I'm asking, but they're able to grasp like the forward rolls, the back rolls, the conversation of rolling with a partner, a training partner. And so what's your take as far as how you're able to process information as a dancer?
I think it's very, I'm a big believer in movement. And I think being a dancer, if you have a history in dancing, I think one, flexibility is always, if you had the flexibility and you kept up with it, that helps with anything. I mean, but I think processing, you just see unique positions. You think outside the box. In dancing, you're not, especially like ballet dancers are very structured and poised, and but if you do more of the modern and the like, you just see different opportunities where how am I trying to explain this? You kind of flow with it. It is like a dance. And jiu-jitsu is a dance. If somebody moves that way, you want to fit and move that way, and kind of you want to get in that position or get out of that position, or
yeah. So you make it look like you're with another dancing partner on the mats.
yes. And
okay.
I think it's a natural thing as a dancer. You just, because like I said, like when I danced, you couldn't give me counts like 1 and 2 and 3. I couldn't dance the counts. It was a natural thing in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing comes with jiu-jitsu. Like you tell me, Nicole, I want you to do this. What? No, I don't know what that move is. Nicole, you just did it like 6 times. I don't know. It's a big movement. It's a lot to do with movement. Like when I teach beginners, when I teach my beginner women, a lot of things I go over is movement before I even start talking about somebody, get out of mount, get out of guard. Let's learn how to move your body on the ground, because it's not the same as standing up.
Yeah. Kind of how I'm doing the jiu-jitsu solo drills.
Yes.
On there. One of the things I thought to myself is if you don't know how to control your own body, then you're not going to be able to control another person's body. And so there's a lot of, I mean, yes, we're going to learn how to, partner up and control. But I think one of the missing things that a lot of people may forget about is we train with other partners, and you can tell whenever you train with somebody that they have a really good control of themselves, and they can also control their training partners. Mm-hmm. And so that's my thought about, man, it's like, that's the reason why, nowadays it's a good time to learn how to control your own body with, solo drills and so forth, because eventually that will eventually translate into training with your partner also. And that way you become better training partners and not trash each other out on that. So yeah, something to take away if anyone's listening on learning how to control yourself before you learn how to control other people from there, so you won't trash each other out. How do you, so you're a manager at this, you say the New Jersey gym? Was it?
Yes.
Tiger
Schulman's in Englewood, actually.
Okay. And then you're teaching over there. What you're teaching kids and women's class, or what all are you teaching over there?
Right now, I teach our beginner women jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So that's what I manage the school. So we have the owner of the school. He teaches most of the classes, our sensei and whatnot. And then the owner's wife teaches some kickboxing classes, and then I kind of take the new jiu-jitsu people to the side and work on the very basics. And and it's funny because we've gotten some women, like they come in so timid, and we had these 2 women. I love them. They're hysterical. They were these 2 women, and they came in, they were all timid. I don't want to do this. I don't want to touch. We would have to tear them apart because they would be beating the crud out of each other and like laughing away, like having the best time. And then, but they were so hesitant to go into it. And I always talk about them as an example. Like they were too, like, I don't want to do this. Like this is, but it was.
And then once they get going, they start like having fun, ripping each other apart. So that's cool. How have you built the women's program over there?
It really is about, the 2 things are, I explained about self-defense, and I think Gracie Jiu-Jitsu did they did a commercial of it, or it wasn't even in English. It might have been like a commercial in China or Japan or something, where a woman was in the park and a guy tried to approach her, and she pulled him into a triangle and choked him in a triangle. And I actually show that video and I say, I use that and I explain, I really focus on the self-defense aspect. And I also say you're using muscles that you're not going to use in kickboxing. And usually after a warm-up, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I can't do this. So sorry, my phone is.
No, that's pretty cool that I didn't think about that. You're able to filter ladies through to get them at least introduced to martial arts by starting out with kickboxing, and then slowly lure them into jiu-jitsu. I didn't think about that. So that's a pretty cool way to go about doing that.
Yeah. And really it's once they know, and a lot of times we don't even partner them up. Like I don't partner them up right away. I really focus on the warm-ups and the body movement because it doesn't scare them because somebody's right on top of them right away. They're not dripping, I'm used to sweat and blood and whatever dripping in my face, but they don't want that. So once they feel the warm-ups themselves they're like, wow. Once they feel those muscles, they're like, they don't realize that their muscles aren't used often.
Yep.
So it's a slow introduction.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. Now, sorry, I got distracted over there. What would you, as far as with people who lost my train of thought, are trying to work through, like trying to learn moves and stuff like that, what are some of the fundamental stuff that you work through as you talk about movements? So what are some of the basic fundamentals you have ladies start with?
Triangle drills, just doing simple triangles over and over, not on somebody, just in the air, getting them used to like getting their hips up and the twist, sit throughs. That's something that is, there's so many times we use sit through. I think they're called. This is where I forget names of everything.
Gotcha.
Even forward rolls. A lot of time, it's funny enough, as a forward roll is people don't realize they don't do it, and just getting that being comfortable. I call them crazy legs. I don't know if that's really the name. When I work with them, you put your feet on the wall and you sort of like back and forth with your legs. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep. The inversion bolo rolls on there.
Yeah, but we don't really go that far. It's just getting I try to get a lot of them I try to get the hip movement going.
Gotcha.
Because I feel at shrimping, I work on, because the more they learn how to move their hips, I think the more they learn how to feel that they can move.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is in our hips. So
yeah, for sure. Hips and core for sure on that one.
Yes.
I'm just always liking to hear what other ladies are doing, but it seems like most of the general consensus is the warm up, the fundamental drills and stuff like that you take people through, which is cool because you're able. I assume you open back up because you're able to train social distance. You haven't been open yet?
Nope. We're still working through Zoom. Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. So when does that, what's the timeline for you guys?
We have no idea. They're saying, our governor said something about the end of June, early July with social distancing. I know I've been seeing a lot of schools have been kind of just breaking the barrier and just going ahead and just going and opening, and
right.
There's a lot of underground things going on. But because we're such a huge organization, we're sticking by the rules. Yeah.
And you're able to still train through Zoom. I mean, so
yes.
that's definitely helpful and great. Now, what are some of the things you're learning through all this, any silver linings that you're able to do? Any opportunities that you're able to grab during these times?
It's been challenging. I will tell you.
You live now? I saw a video. You're like living with your mom or something like that, or
Yes, I live with my mother.
When you say it's been challenging, is because of your mom, or?
You know what? I went from well, it's a combination. My mother drives me crazy, and I tell her that all the time. I don't know if you see any of the videos of my mother. She was having a tea party one day with her puppets. Like, we joke a lot. We joke around a lot. But I literally went like 3 days a week. I would train at 6:30 in the morning, run home and shower. Then I trained from 10 to 12, jiu-jitsu and then kickboxing. And then after that, I would do an hour of strength and conditioning, run home and shower, then get to my school for 2:30, and they'd be at my school until 10 o'clock at night. So my life was all day. And so it's been challenging with not being able to train like I was, and even missing the students. My God, I miss seeing them, the kids giving me hugs when they come in and, goofing around with them. But so it's been a little challenging that way. And, I'm sure everybody's had their ups and downs with being locked down, but I work with a strength and conditioning coach, so they're constantly checking in and pushing me to do my bands and my bike riding, and
That's actually especially when are you turning 43, or have you already turned 43?
I already turned 43.
Okay. When was this?
Yeah, March.
Okay. Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
I'll be 43 in August of this year, but one of the things, especially especially female athletes, even male athletes, as we get, past the 40 barrier mark, it's definitely essential to strength train. Mm-hmm. Because that's going to help, one, with our performance. It's going to help produce, another way to also be able to do the moves and reduce the likelihood of injuries as we go longer. If you're not strength training along with your jiu-jitsu, then you're going to have a hard time in the long term of staying with it within the sport or in life in general. So definitely doing strength training as we age is definitely a key factor to continue on there. So what would you say, we're going to kind of close out a little bit, is now you might have mentioned, there's two questions I have for you. What is like one of the hardest thing you had to overcome in life? And you might have already talked about it, and I wasn't for sure if that was like your hardest thing, is overcoming your domestic abuse situation, or if there's something else that you had in mind.
That was the hardest thing. I think it still has transferred into my life now. So it definitely, that was the hardest thing. It was my high school boyfriend turned husband, and being so young, having children, so now I'm like I always talk about my age of being 43. I'm like living like a 20-year-old now because I didn't live like a 20-year-old then. So.
Yep. What would your advice be with someone that is maybe currently in your situation back then when you're young? What would your advice be someone like yourself back when you're in senior year, or someone else who might be dealing with the same thing during these times?
Find somebody to talk to. Find somebody that really that you can trust and you can reach out to, because a lot of times they're the voice of reason. Your mind is not clear. You have so much coming at you, and in that situation, you're basically been retrained to think you're a horrible person, and whether you realize it or not. And you need somebody to really trust and talk to make you see the light. And you're not really going to see the light, but you need that force behind you. And it doesn't have to be an army. Just that one person.
That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, I think that's
that's definitely a great message. I appreciate that. Is there like and we could end with that. Is there like a positive quote or message that you like to let people know today, especially during these crazy times?
Just hang in. I just hang in. It's gonna end. We're all here together. We're all in this together. We're, with everything going on, there's so much going on right now. Keep the faith, keep working out. Don't stop working out. Use that as your escape.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely find ways to get yourself moving, because we can all get caught up with just munching on bad stuff and sitting around. But I found that whenever I'm out and about, it reduces those cravings for sure.
Yes, and I love your videos, your TikToks, and your shuffles, and your it puts it right. Every day I look for it.
Well, one of the ways that it's one it's therapy. Two, it changes it. I think it just lights up things that's dark in this world. And then two, I like sense of humor for me is like therapy for me. So I like to have sense of humor. So life is short to not laugh. So let's if you don't mind, let's go ahead and we're gonna dance out since you're a dancer.
Oh no.
So we're talking about shuffling. So I got the shuffling song. Let me hold on. Let me see if
let's see. I don't even know if you're gonna see my messy room here.
Okay. Can you hear that? It's Running Man, the shuffle.
I'm gonna clap, but I can't do this. There goes my dog. Oh boy,
awesome. And then we still got the handstand challenge. We're working on.
That's gonna be interesting.
So that's to come later on. If any peeps that's listening. So I did a headstand, and then Nicole's like, I got to do that headstand. So kudos to you. But yeah, eventually I'm working on the handstand on there. So yeah, that's coming soon.
Handstand may be against the wall.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I will talk to you, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll just kind of stay in touch here and there with my
Sounds
TikTok
good.
and Facebook.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.